there's very few people that are great at self-assessment. Most people might be able to pick out a few things about themselves that they could improve on, but you're going to have a blind spot. You're going to have a pretty huge blind spot. You may not have a rear view mirror, or you may only have a rear view mirror. You may have your windows tinted so dark on the side you can't see out. So the issue is, I started pretty early on having older people be honest with me and assess where I was in life and what my strengths were and what my weaknesses were. It's always fun to have somebody around you to compliment you, but that can become poison at some point in time without the right amount of critique. So there's a balance. If all you eat sugar, then your teeth are going to fall out. But if all you eat rocks, your teeth are going to fall out. You're going to get the same thing. Mm-hmm. So being able to gather, and I typically would find older people because they have a longer context of life than I do. So I would bring them in, and still do today. And I would say, hey, do you think I'm handling this well? Where do you think I can improve on this? How could I have approached this differently? And even with staff you have, being transparent about, hey, how do you think I handled that in the staff meeting? Do you think I was too abrupt? Do you think I was, so getting genuine feedback, you can get it from your spouse, you can get it from your kids. I have adult kids now. And so I can have adult conversations with them about, hey, I think I overreacted there. What do you think? So being able to get that feedback, because very few of us by nature are able to say, well, I'm really good at this and I'm really not good at this.
That's true.
For a variety of reasons. But it's important to get that feedback. And when you get that feedback, it's important not to just go, okay, I got the feedback. But then actually make progress, make actionable steps to go, okay, this is what I'm lacking in, and this is where I need to be, not just for me personally, but for the people I work with and the people that work for me. So what things do I need to do on a daily basis to get to that place? And so we are literally talking about changing the way we think about stuff a lot of times. And if you want to throw in there changing your personality, maybe it's an issue where I get upset too quick, or I'm too emotional, or I'm not emotional enough, or a gamut of things that I could go from here to here. This is what I need to do to improve. So without external input, I think that's a very, very hard thing to do.
So now what you're basically saying is you're disproving a lot of people's ideas that the older you get, the more locked in your brain and your personality become. Can you expand on that a little bit more? Because what I'm hearing is that your brain can actually be rewired even as an adult.
I hope so. No, we've bought into that. Like, I can't teach old dog new tricks. I am who I am. Everybody's gonna have to get over it. You hear people all the time apologize. Well, I'm sorry. I just say what I think. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a great idea or not. Yeah, what we found, I'm not a brain expert by any stretch of the imagination, but what we found out is your brain is malleable all the way up to the end of life. Like, you can create new neurological pathways, you can rewire your brain. And if we talk about in a biblical context, this is what the Bible teaches: renewing our mind, taking every thought captive, being able to take how we think, be able to transform. Paul says we were a slave to sin before we came to Christ, and now we're a slave to righteousness. Well, that is a rewiring of our brain and actions. We change in the heart, which then changes what we think, then changes what we do. So when we apply that to our everyday lives, where we need to get better, where we need to change, we are actually putting off these thoughts and putting on new thoughts. So I know, like in the last 25 years, everybody knows I'm not detail oriented. Everybody already knows. It's not a secret that I'm not super detailed about researching. Like I would, your illustration about the baseball, I just walked out, put a glove on, and like, let's get at it. So the idea of me going, that is not acceptable in this circumstance. That's my knee-jerk thought process. What are the steps I have to do now to replace that thought process in this with a different one that will produce better results? All right. Is it going to come naturally? No. Is it going to come easy? Probably not. But it's necessary work. And so anytime you're trying to change the way you think, anytime you're trying to change the way you feel about something that's manual labor stuff. And it's not what our culture really reinforces or buys into. Because what we do is we say, well, this is my identity. I'm going to just lock into it. Mm. Well, great leaders learn how to morph into whatever the circumstance requires. So as an organization grows, the circumstance is going to require different things. You can't lead 20 people like you lead 20,000 people. So being aware of that and understanding that it is possible for me to think differently. And so I would venture to say any great leader that does this type of work, they take personality tests and they may lean towards the same thing, but it should look different. I think it should look different because we're constantly understanding things about ourselves, leaning into correcting, adjusting. And so I hope and pray that in 10 years when I take a personality test, it's different than what I took 10 years before. And that's hope for me. Because at 25 years old, I'm a bull in a china closet, not taking anyone else's advice, not taking anyone else's input, and just going, man, well, I'm going to just do it. I don't care. And at 47 years old, I can't be that guy. And so a lot of times we'll use the word maturing. Well, this is somebody who's matured. And that can be true, but making sure that process never stops. So we don't turn 40 and say, well, they're a mature person. But the process goes all the way to the end. And I think that's embodying the image of Christ in us that we haven't yet achieved, but we are working towards it. And the idea that we will be changing our thought processes all the way to the end of our lives is a godly one.
I love that. And I think about the word you used, hope, for you there. And I love that because there is a lot of hopelessness for people that don't have a connection with Christ, but B, don't feel like it's possible for them to be different, do anything different. And of course, the past couple of episodes, I talked to Pastor Skip and Donna about marriage. And that was sort of the thing that they were talking about, is that when we are able to see what we're adding in our marriage or what we're detracting from our marriage, and we start working on those things, the people around us start to flourish. And the people around us start to grow. And I love how you're talking about that with leadership. You're not growing because you think that it's the right thing to do for you. You're doing it because you think it's the right thing to do to benefit the people around you. And I think that's the difference between being a leader and being somebody that's all about self. And you're right. We live in a culture today where everything is about self. We literally have things called selfies because we would rather take a picture of ourselves with the sunset in the back than actually take a picture of the sunset and give people a full view of things. So you also mentioned earlier that you go to people that are older than you. And I'll say this, Kendra and I have always been those type of people. We've always befriended older people. We love older people because there's a certain sense of wisdom that comes with that, but also there's a sense of peace. Older people, especially older Christians, seem to have a different sort of peace about the world than we do. When calamities strike, they're like, been there, done that. When issues are happening, even in marriage, they're like, oh, honey, you're going to get through. You know what I mean? So I think it's really cool. So, and that's kind of the culture we have here at church. We have a diverse range of people. I think the oldest person in our church is what, 83 or 84?
They're in their 80s,
in their 80s. And then we, of course, have all the new bouncing babies. But there's a certain level of honor that the younger people in this church have for the older generation. And I think that does start with you as the leader, because that's what you talk about, that's what you do. So why is it so important for us in the process of expanding our capacity to have those older people to bounce our ideas off of,
Yeah.
to grow.
One of the things that happens, and it's happened to me, is you think whatever circumstance you're in the moment is the worst thing that could be happening. We have that tendency to think everybody's got the hardest job that anybody. If you talk to anybody with a job, they're like, "Oh, my job's so hard," and I tend to think in terms of there's no way I have the most stressful job on the planet. You look at any president, and if they go into office with dark hair, it's gray in 4 years.
It is.
It's just a stress level that you can't even fathom. And so I typically try not to gauge anything I'm doing as if it's the hardest, but that's typical of how people think. Oh, I've got such a hard job. Okay. So left to ourselves, that's how we typically process stuff. If I can get somebody 30 years older than me who has a totally different context, maybe on the other side of working, and they're speaking into my life, they're gonna go, "Hey, it'll be all right. Settle down." They don't get as excited about the things I'm losing my mind about. They've been through it. They've raised kids. They've had marriages. They've done the whole thing. And so the beautiful thing is they can speak to it from the other side. If I'm going to talk to business guys, I'm going to talk to less people starting out. I want to talk to the people that have finished. I want to talk to the people that have finished. Now, I might go to the person starting out to figure out culturally what's the thing I need to do right now that's gonna make me stand out. I might talk to those people about that, but how to stay longevity, how to treat people, all those things. I'm looking to the person that's already done it all. I'm looking to the person that's already been successful, that knows what success feels like and looks like. Because what happens is, if I'm in a boat that's sinking and I got a bunch of people my age in the same boat, the truth of the matter is we're all sinking together.
That's true.
If I'm talking to only people my age or younger in marriage, we're all experiencing the same difficulties. And none of us, if we all got the same age kids, we're all figuring it out. And so if I can talk to somebody who's got kids 10, 15 years older than mine, they've already walked through everything I'm getting ready to walk through. And so that brings a confidence in me that, hey, all these people made it. They're speaking into my life. They're talking to me about things that I haven't thought about before, I haven't considered, because nobody in my spheres knows it yet. So being able to pull those people in is a huge resource and benefit, and it keeps me from making the same dumb mistakes. Because you'd be shocked at how many older business people, successful in marriage, all those things, they want to tell you where they messed up. They want to say, "Hey, listen, I did this, this, and this. I don't recommend any of those. But if I had to do it over again, this is what I would do." And that's a wealth of knowledge. And so if you can get to the place where we can put our egos down a little bit, it doesn't have to all be our idea, then all of a sudden we invite those people in the room with experience and we just start asking questions. "Hey, how did you do this? What did you learn from that?" And they are more than willing to tell you. More than willing.